everybody. Welcome and welcome back. My name is Kimiko Sumi, and I know I haven't posted in, a day or two video. I've been posting like comments and posts, of course, even though I know a lot of people, they don't react to my posts. I understand that, I know people look at them, but they don't necessarily like them. And I know it's not a whole lot of people, but it's nice when I do get likes, even if it's not that many. And it's nice to know that do at some point look at my post, even if they don't, make it aware or that apparent. But anyway, y'all, I just wanted to discuss something because I just got done reading some reviews about this mental health clinic here in Dallas that I was admitted to 2 years ago for the very last time. And I decided that after that, the summer, like 2 years ago, the last time I was admitted 2 years ago into a hospital, period. That's the last time that I ever went to a hospital. In 2 years, I have not been in a mental hospital in like over 2 years, or closing in at least on 2 years, deliberately, because I just started to realize, like, the negative experiences, the last two I had, they were just absolutely horrible. Actually, the last time I actually went to a mental hospital, I did not have a choice because I didn't have nowhere else to go. So I just went to the mental hospital. Um, I didn't have a choice. I did not have a choice that last time. But um, I was doing whatever the fuck I could to avoid going in that hospital that very last time, because the time right before that, it was fucking pure hell. It was like the staff was just fucked up, y'all. The staff, a lot of the time, I won't really say most of the time, but a lot of the time, people in the mental health field, they're very insensitive to those who have mental illnesses, y'all. They don't really care, and this has been an ongoing thing for centuries. Okay, like the mental health field, they they're like kind of like people who are elderly, like, take care of, older people in a nursing home, or like disabled people in a nursing home. It's their word against the patients, basically, because they know that, just like in a nursing home, older people or disabled people can't really speak up for themselves, kind of like people who are mentally ill. If we tell on, the workers and stuff, it's our word, their word against ours, and our word against theirs. It's like, they're gonna have the upper hand, and they're very smug about it because they know that people are just gonna sum it up to us being crazy and making up stories because we're crazy. But anyway, someone just told me to look up some reviews about this particular hospital that I was admitted into 2 years ago for the last time. And I have been seeing a lot of similar reviews to what I've been saying. Like, that hospital is fucked up. They've gotten to a point where they lock the patients out of the rooms like for hours, okay, on end. And then they have actual recliners, but it's not enough to go around. So a lot of those mental health patients, they're stuck sitting up most of the day. They can't even rest. Most mental health hospitals, I will say, you can lay down in your room. You can go to sleep usually. You do have access to your room usually. But there's one here in Dallas, and I'm gonna try not to say the name, but you know, um, that particular hospital is different from any other one that I've ever been to, even in LA. That particular hospital here in Dallas, they'll lock you out of your room most of the day, and then it's first come first serve with the recliners. And they're very old, y'all, by the way. And most of the time people have to, get it early, or get to a chair early, or they probably are gonna have to sit up all day in one of those hard chairs, and they ain't gonna be able to sleep, or they're gonna have to make do with what they have to try to get some rest. So anyway, until they let the patients back in their rooms, probably around, I say about 4 o'clock. That's when they will let them back in the room. They'll lock the doors to the rooms around, I say about 7 in the morning, and they'll let them back in their rooms around 4 in the afternoon. So most of that time they're in the day room or whatever, just sitting. And if, like I said, if they're lucky, they can get a recliner, and it's not that great. And they don't really clean them either. They don't really care. It's first come, first serve. They don't really care if the patient is comfortable at all, really, in this particular hospital. But anyway, I was reading the reviews and stuff, y'all. But I just want to say, I made a video about this hospital myself because I have a lot of trauma. I have PTSD along with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depression. I have OCD, of which I always tell people that I love having OCD, but um, the other ones I don't care for. I don't really, not even I don't care for. I hate those other mental disorders. The only one I'm okay with is OCD. Okay. But it seems, because OCD seems to help me with paranoid schizophrenia. Okay. So, because the voices and stuff all day, it helps me. OCD cleaning and stuff and always organizing stuff helps me take my mind off of schizophrenia, the voices, okay? And I have PTSD, so that also helps. The OCD also helps with that too. So anyway, like those I a lot of people were saying the same thing in the reviews about that hospital on Google reviews. Like the staff is very unprofessional there. Like they usually have, I mean, there's a lot of hospitals, mental hospitals, where they do not give a damn about the patients. I'll say actually most of them that I've been to, they don't care about the patient. They don't care. um a lot of violence can take place there. They will even beat up on patients. I've been beat up on. I've had them even allow me to them to hold me back and let a patient even hit me, okay? And I did nothing to the person, the worker at all, did nothing to them. And they came in, throwing insults at me, and that was in LA. I've had a lot of negative experiences with the mental health community. Um, the only thing I will do is take the medication. Um, I will take the medication because I do think I need mental medication. I believe that. But as far as like therapists and stuff like that, I don't trust them enough. I believe that they just want to use it against me in some way. I've seen that. I've been to mental health clinics outside of the actual mental hospital enough to know that those mental health people, even when they just work at clinics and stuff, they're really not very nice. They're not going to really console you. They're not gonna have any compassion for you. If you tell them something in privacy, they will, it's not unheard of, it's not unlikely of them to use it against you, your own trauma against you, to humiliate you, because I've had that happen. um this is just stuff like I've seen. There was even a mental health worker. I'm not going to even get into that. Let me just not even get into that, because I do think this particular person, because it's a whole lot of, because they do think that they own and control the patients too. If they have enough interaction with you, like it's usually like if you go to a clinic, one of those mental health clinics or something, they'll actually think that they own you. Like they got a control. They have a power trip. A lot of them. But in particular, I would say with the mental health clinics, it's more so the case managers that have a power trip. Like the doctors, I'll say the doctors and the nurses, they seem to be the most professional ones. Those, the doctors, the nurses, the people that administer medication, like when you go to the pharmacy, you know, they're cool. Like that's pretty, it's pretty much, they stick to their protocol of what they're supposed to do with their job. But like case managers outside of the mental hospital and like the techs inside the mental hospital, those are the ones who are the fucked up ones. I'm gonna be honest. The case managers inside the hospital, the techs and the case managers inside the hospital, and the case managers outside of the hospital, those are some fucked up people in the mental health community. They make it bad for the rest of the like the doctors and the nurses. I never really expected, mainly because the reason why I never really asked too much or expected too much out of doctors, like the mental health doctors, in my experience, the reason why I didn't expect too much out of them is because when I was 18, when I initially started to go to mental health clinics to get, mental health assistance, the first doctor I ever saw, I actually started to cry in front of her, and she looked dead at me as if she didn't, as if, like, with a very cold stare. It was like a cold glare at me. So I knew then, hey, don't be trying to get too sentiment, not really sentimental, but don't be trying to get too in your feelings in front of them, because they're not gonna give a damn. They generally don't give a fuck like that. Like the most you'll really get any type of like compassion from, even though they don't get that much either, is the doctor and the nurse. Okay, but they're still not that compassionate. They're still, I wouldn't go too far with them to think that they're gonna, be a shoulder to cry on, or give you like a like my doctor, my mental health doctor now, she's decent. I will say she's decent. Like, you can talk to her, but I don't really open up like that easily to her either. I'm not gonna just sit there and, really pour out my heart to her. I'm not finna be doing that. I'm strictly with the medication, like I said. I just get straight to the point as much as possible. Now, she has been more like open hearted with me, but I'm so guarded from the mental health community that it's like, no, I don't. I just would rather just have the medication, like, and we pretty much just stick with just the basics, which is me getting my refills and changing up my medication as needed, her, writing down my symptoms, and me explaining my symptoms to her and her writing them down. But as far as getting too deep into my emotions that's going through my head, I don't really do that. I'm pretty much surface with her and surface with the mental health community, period, because I've had so many traumatic experiences with these hospitals over the years. Ever since I started to really self admit myself into the hospital in LA, because even in LA, that was like when I really started to, I gotta be honest, I love Los Angeles, but that's where I was like, damn, these are some of the coldest, cold blooded motherfuckers I didn't ever met in my entire life. And I'm not gonna lie, the patients, they can be very aggressive. They can be very hard to deal with. Like, if you get in a room with one of them, they'll feel like that you're owed an explanation of who you are, and this and that, like, and then they'll bait you. If you don't speak to them, it's a problem. If you do, they'll try to bait you into an argument somehow, or some type of, like, it's always a bait. It's always like, either way it go. If you speak to them, if you don't, it's gonna be bad. At least in my case, I could never make it work with the patients either. That's not, unless I try really hard. I would try really hard, and usually that would be with me being extremely passive and borderline docile towards them, because just to not make any waves, and I can't do that. That's just not my personality. So I never really could get along with the patients unless I really, 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 really toned down Kimiko and really was not Kimiko at certain points. And with the mental health community, period, the people that work there and the patients, they can be something else. And like I said, I've seen a lot of supernatural things in them hospitals. So that's one of the main reasons I would not go back up in there, because that it was just scary. It was just scary. It was really scary. I hadn't seen supernatural, actual, like really in my face supernatural things since I had been in LA, like Del Amo Hospital. I'm gonna give that one away. Del Amo Hospital. That's where I started to see supernatural things for the first time after I teleported. And yes, I did teleport. I did. But I know I'm a schizophrenic. I know I have paranoid schizophrenia, but I'm also Nefertiti. So that's true. Okay? Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. Because I only did it once. And I don't think I want to do it again. But, enough of that. But anyway, I'm back, y'all. So anyway, like I've been so this last time, the last time I was in the mental hospital, that was a scary, scary moment. It reminded me so much of that hospital in Del Amo. The first one that, okay, because remember, I didn't start going to mental hospitals for the first time until I was like, I was 19 when I first went to a mental hospital. And then I didn't go back to one again until I was like 22. Then it skipped all the way until I was 27 in LA. And I only went there because I didn't have anywhere to go, and the voices after I teleported were telling me to admit myself into a hospital, and they took me Marina Del Rey Hospital. Marina Del Rey police took me to Pasadena, and that's when I was able to. That's when I first went to the very first mental hospital in LA. And then shortly after I left Pasadena Hospital, somehow, I don't remember how this happened, but I was admitted into Del Amo Hospital in, I think, Torrance or Carson, one of them. Okay, so, okay, initially that hospital in Pasadena, I was seeing weird stuff there too. Now that I think about it, I was seeing very weird things. Okay, so that was a strange experience, and I was very terrified too. And then I got out that hospital, Pasadena. I didn't stay in there long. And that's when I was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia too. But initially I didn't believe that I had paranoid schizophrenia. I didn't believe that. But I have come to accept that now more than ever. But back then, when I was initially diagnosed at 27 years old, I didn't believe that I had paranoid schizophrenia. Okay, but anyway, after I left that hospital in Pasadena, shortly after I was admitted into Del Amo Hospital in Carson or Torrance. I can't remember where that's at. But that's when I really started to see the supernatural activity, and it was just the scariest thing. If I was shook in Pasadena, I was way more shook in that Del Amo Hospital. And then that's when all the evil shit started to really get aggressive. It was this guy in there. He just kept fucking with me. This is somebody that was like 20 years old, and he looked like he had no life in his eyes. There was nothing there. He just looked very evil. Okay? And that was a lot. That's when I first started to get caught. I mean, that wasn't the first time, but the second time I got caught nigger for no reason was in that hospital too. And like I said in another video, that person and another person got beat up. They was calling me out my name, and they got beat up bad in them hospitals. Like they almost got immediate karma after that. But it was just so anyway, I'm just comparing those hospitals to, okay, because between those times I had been going to hospitals for years anyway, but I didn't see nothing too much out of the ordinary. Yeah, it was still kind of weird, but it wasn't just woo like that initially with those experiences in those other hospitals, the first two in LA. But when I came, okay, the last time that I was in the hospital, I'm gonna speed it up to like 2 years ago. That's when I start to see weird shit like those hospitals that I was at initially after I had time travel in LA. That's what it here in Dallas, Texas. That was this is the that was the like the first real time here in Dallas at any mental hospital where I saw For sure, the weirdest supernatural shit ever. And it was right after I had been admitted one more time before, when they had ganged up on me. They was, I mean, they were just, it was just like they were just so evil. Yeah, they were evil, but it wasn't to a point where it was just demonic like the very last time. 2 years ago, the last time I had went to a mental hospital, that was when really weird, strange, evil, demonic, supernatural type stuff started happening. And that's why I stopped going in there. Honestly, that's what made me like, nah, I'm not going to allow somebody to, um, I'm not going to allow hold on real quick. Anyway, y'all, they're trying to stop me from talking. They want, of course, they're gonna really, like, these demonic spirits. Of course, they want me to stop talking because, I'm telling the truth. I'm speaking their truth out into the open. And you got to remember, I'm also Mayat too. I'm also Mayat, so I'm the judge. I'm one of the judges, at least, of the universe. So of course they want to shut me up. Okay, so I know that sounds crazy. Yes, I am crazy, but you would have to be crazy to be me anyway. Nefertiti, you would have to be crazy. You would have to be crazy if you were Mayat too. You would have to be crazy. So of course they want to shut me up. They're trying to intimidate me and using scare tactics and intimidation tactics, and it's not working. It's not working. I'm in my room. Y'all, I want y'all to hear me talking to these demons real quick. I don't care if you try to use it against me. If you think you can use this, go ahead and try, because I really don't care. But I'm gonna let y'all hear me talking to these motherfuckers right now. I'm not afraid of your ass. You do not scare me. I'm in my own room. I'm not bothering you. I'm not being loud. Okay, I am talking loud enough in the video to make sure that my point is heard of whoever wants to listen to it, even if it just has to be me. Okay? But I'm going to get my point across. I'm going to make my point heard. Okay? You're not going to shut me up. Where I pay rent in my room, you're not going to shut me up. This is not no mental hospital. This is my home. Respect that. Respect that. But anyway, y'all, back to y'all. I'm just going to just mute they dumb ass as much as I can right now. But so basically the basis of my video, the point of my video is that the mental health community has pretty much always been negligent and evil, kind of like nursing homes for older people. They're very negligent, and it's their word against the patient, okay? And I know there's a lot of evil spirits that are actual so-called, that call themselves being patients. I understand that, but there are real people I sometimes it's hard for me to believe that, but it's gotta be. I don't think I'm just going through these things for no reason. I don't think I'm just going through these things just because. There's got to be some people that need their voice to be heard in some way and need to be spoken up for, okay? Because I'm very opinionated. I'm very brave and bold when it comes down to my opinion. And I'm not going to allow somebody to pump me around. Even if I might have let them do it a little bit, because these mental health people, they will bully the patient. They will bully. They're bullies a lot of the time. They're mean. They don't care. A lot of the time, they're only money hungry. Okay, they're unprofessional. These are people, they will do anything. They outside of the let me just talk about the mental health clinics. I have a private doctor now that's a mental health doctor, but when I used to go to actual mental health clinics when I didn't have good insurance, those people were very unprofessional, like I've always said in my videos. And I really do think now that many of them are just evil spirits, okay? Or whatever they are, whatever. All I know is that they're very evil. They're very, very immature. They are not very, they're not, they need to start signing an oath too against the, to sign and be, you know, to agree to not be racially insensitive or prejudiced or biased, they need to sign an oath to not be that way towards the patients. Everybody, regardless of race and who their patient is, they should be. Okay? You know, there's some really evil, sinister people. Not all of them, because there are some nice ones. Because I know it. I know a very nice one, and he was unfairly fired, and he just so happened to pick me up from Del Amo Hospital. Actually, to be honest, I'm gonna be honest, but I'm not gonna go too deep into that. But at the same time, I know there are good workers because he's a good person himself. But there's a lot of workers, you know, like especially the ones that are like techs and I will say the case workers, the case managers. But those are the main ones. The case managers and the techs, those are the ones that just usually, not all of them, because there are some nice ones, like I said, but most of the time they're not very compassionate. And the caseworkers outside, like in those clinics and stuff, like the community clinics anybody could go to get mental health medication. Um, those caseworkers are very rude, and it doesn't matter what race they are, and they feel like that they own the patient. They feel like they should have a place, even when that patient going on with their life. They still feel like that they are owed a place in that person's life, like they own that person. And they're very immature and they're very insecure, y'all. That's why a lot of them take on them jobs too, like them case managers and stuff. That's why a lot of those they take on those jobs because they can feel better than somebody. And a lot of them like to come to work and they like to rub, like the fact that they went to places like Chipotle. Anybody can buy food from Chipotle. They'll rub stuff like Chipotle and Starbucks, and you can see them like asking other like this is the most lamest shit. But you can see them. You could actually watch them go over to other like employees, workers, and asking them what they want back for lunch and shit, like as if they're trying to do it to, leave out the patients and stuff like that and rub it in their face that they can buy that and they can get that. And it's almost like they come to work to show off their clothes and shit like that too. People who are underprivileged, okay, that don't have the financial resources or the mental stability that they supposedly have. Like usually people in the mental health field, like the caseworkers and stuff, like just the caseworkers. I would just talk about the caseworkers right now. Usually those type of people, they were the lames in school. They come to work specifically to rub shit in the clients, as they will call it, or patient's face. I mean, they have no lives. Nobody respects them outside of their job or career or whatever. Nobody respects them. Nobody listens to them. Those are very insecure, meek people outside of their job. And on their job too. It's just that they can fool people and deceive people because they see them in a position of authority. They can make that person think that they're not, immature and insecure when it's really that. And a lot of them need mental health help themselves. They need psychological help. Bad. Bad. I've had these type of people stalk me. I mean, they are very weird, like really strange. I know people say this about me, but you know what? I also have paranoid schizophrenia. I have that documented. I'm not lying about my mental health situation either. Unlike them, I'm not professing to be somebody that can cure somebody or help somebody that you know and and proclaiming to be somebody that's of a more, like healthier mindset to help somebody at a disadvantage mentally. I'm not claiming to be that, but they are. They're supposedly have all their marbles in the sense and the education, but they don't realize how mentally unstable the fuck they really are themselves. They need mental help. A lot of them, I really do think they're in denial. They need to get professional help. Okay? Like they have this, it's just really, they're really aggressive. They're really vulgar. You know, a lot of them have poor self esteem. You know, they're not very neat a lot of the time. You know, they're just very unprofessional. I've seen some of them come to work smelling like, you know, weed, you know what I'm saying, and specifically to my home with like a strong weed smell on them on my new couch from Wayfair. Okay, and you know what, they're not fair. That's the funny thing about it. They've plopped all on my furniture. That furniture that I used to have years ago, I'm still mad about that. Yeah, because you know what? A lot of money went down the drain. I literally could have just flushed that money down the toilet. I had to give up my apartment because they kept abusing me psychologically. They kept playing mind games. You know, they would do anything in their power to try to make me uncomfortable or force me out of my comfort zone when I was really like suffering bad mentally, even more than now. Like I had social anxiety at the time. So you know it's fight or flight. They would not even acknowledge back then that I had social anxiety. And they would force me out of my comfort zone. And you know what? They wouldn't say it, but they would kind of make like kind of like imply that if I didn't do something, if I didn't get out of my comfort zone, then I could get written up. This is the implications they would make if I didn't force myself out of the comfort zone, my comfort zone for them. I would get written up and I could have my own living situation in jeopardy. I mean, you're dealing with some very sick-minded people, some very weak, feeble-minded, just sick, my, mentally warped people who are very prejudiced a lot of the time, bigoted, hateful, mean, cold, cruel, judgmental, unprofessional. But anyway, y'all, this video, I just kind of wanted to like just talk about it because I want to make this an awareness coming from somebody that has had experience. I think it's my position to step up because I am somebody that has been placed here to put a spotlight on injustice and to bring awareness to the type of injustices that going on in this world that a lot of people don't discuss or know about. So I just wanted to make this video, and I know I discussed a lot. I'm still mad about a lot of things dealing with these type of people. And like I said, I do take medication, but as far as anything else dealing with the mental health field, I don't really bother with them. I will not talk to a therapist, and I'm just not finna do that. I'm just not. I'd rather write. If I have deep thoughts, I'd rather write them out. Shoot, I'd rather talk them out when I know I'm alone, and carefully too, because I'm not a fool. Okay, but anyway, so this is just my video because I thought about what happened in those hospitals in different situations, and I looked at those reviews on Google reviews, and I just thought about it. Well, hey, maybe I should make a video speaking for those people too, through my own experience, to verify or that what they're saying is true. It's a lot of bad reviews about them too. Okay, very few good reviews and a whole bunch of bad ones with 1 stars. But anyway, y'all. So anyway, y'all, this is my video, and if you like this video, if you found this video to be something that you like, please hit the like button, comment, subscribe, share my video, hit the notification bell, not in that order. And I will see y'all in another video, my lotus flowers. And I hope y'all have an amazing evening. And I will too. And I will see y'all in another one. Peace. I'm out. Bye-bye.